My brothers and sisters in Christ, in the first reading today, we get one of the most beautiful passages in the New Testament, what we believe is the oldest hymn, the oldest Christian hymn that we have reference to. And it may seem odd to call this a hymn, but if we look at the manuscripts of Paul's letter to the Philippians, it does not appear to be a composition of Paul's, but one that he seems to be quoting. And these words are very artistically laid out in verse in this descending and ascending pattern, as we see Jesus presented as the one from on high who humbled himself, came down, and we get to the very point of it in the middle of the text with the death on a cross, debased himself to death on a cross. And because of this, he was highly exalted, and it ends with every knee in heaven on earth bending and proclaiming Jesus as Lord. It's an absolutely beautiful Christological hymn and a text that in and of itself is worthy of our meditation. In the gospel, we get a continuation of the same dinner conversation that Jesus has been having over the last couple of days. And it is at this feast, yesterday he talked about who should essentially be on your invite list for your feast that you put on. But now someone picking up that Jesus is speaking beyond just conventional eating, but giving images of the kingdom, of the wedding feast of heaven. So we get this little interjection that someone makes as blessed is the one who comes. So Jesus takes it a step further. And he presents the image of the king or the master who offers this great banquet and puts out the invitations. But as we hear in it, everyone makes excuses for why they can't come. And so the three that this version of the story, because we see a version of this in the other synoptic gospels, but Luke lays out one excuse is about someone who just acquired land and needs to go examine it. Another one just acquired some oxen. The third one just got married. And in one sense, all of these are valid reasons given. Well, all of them are pragmatic actions, evaluating the land bought, the oxen. The Torah gave provision for excusing someone in the first year of their marriage from certain duties. And so at face value, these are all reasonable responses, but they ignore the big picture that the master is calling you to a great gift and you declined. Now, of course, there's layers to this that we need to read it through. Jesus is making a reference to the house of Israel turning down the Father's call to the great feast. Jesus has come making the offering of the day of salvation, and people of the house of Israel are not responding. And so this reference to all those who turn it down, and then the king being angry and sending out the invitation, gathering everyone, still having room left over, and so going out even beyond the towns, this is a reference to the Gentiles being gathered into the house. The anger at those that should have accepted the invitation that did not. Well, it's easy for us to see this, and often we can be led in the scriptures to kind of dogpile on top of the Pharisees and the Jewish authorities that seem oblivious to who Jesus is and what he's teaching. It's really easy for us from our vantage point to do that, to be hard on them, until we realize that we're in the same boat. The invitation is put to us, and how often do we make excuses for why we don't respond to God? We don't accept his invitation to be drawn closer. The most obvious example we can use is extend this to Mass. The Eucharist as the wedding feast of the Lamb, in which we're invited every Sunday on the Lord's Day, and the pathetic excuses we offer at times for why we couldn't make it to Mass. Oh, I had work, I had family in town, there was a football game on, I was just kind of tired and couldn't come. And we offer these paltry excuses to the most extravagant gift God puts before us, and we respond with indifference. Now, this is in reference to the veiled form of the wedding feast of the Lamb and the Eucharist that we celebrate, but all of this is God's invitation, his work in us to draw us into that deep communion with him. The only thing that matters is his lasting benefit. We should be jumping at the invitation to respond to God, and we respond with indifference, with pathetic excuse. We always have something better to do. Why? Why can we not pray? Why can I never find time to do the things I ought, and yet I can occupy myself with a million other things? The great King invites us to the feast. Why aren't we responding with joy? May God bless you all.